Great. So let's get started, guys. Just do a roll call showing that Councilor Coombs, Councilor Maynard, Councilor Perry, Councilor Roberts is here. Councilor Osher is not going to be able to be here. She is in Augusta, and that stuff is running a bit late, so she is not going to be with us tonight. So we'll just get things going to our first item on the agenda, Environment Committee Informal Interim Report, which I believe Cheryl's handling this one.
There. My Zoom updated and it turned everything around for me. I have been trying to keep us informed at committee meetings. So really everything that you see, unless you would like me to read this for our viewing audience, anyone? Do you care? It doesn't matter. Okay. So we are ready to submit the proposal for the grant tomorrow. So everything's done and we're ready to do that. Let's see, we have met 3 times. We'll meet again. I have listed all of the members of the committee and they've been wonderful. We have discussed what to include in the comprehensive environmental policy, but we haven't started drafting that yet. So we're gonna have a long conversation about that on the 17th. The proposal that is going to be submitted to the Department of Environmental Protection is done, and that will be submitted again tomorrow. And the Chaz, I'm not sure who the Chaz is, but I know that the chair also submitted an article. That's my typo. I don't think that's Sophie's. Submitted an article to the Orono Observer, and that will be when the Orono Observer comes out. So we've been a little busy, but for only having met 3 times, I think we're on a roll. So so that is the quarterly report.
Great. Does anybody have any questions of Cheryl or?
Yeah, sounds like a good committee.
Yeah, it's been fun so far.
The amount of the grant was 30.
Actually, that's not right. It was 3110. So it was $30,600, and then we added another 500 to it for stickers and
just for the kids at home, that grant funding is going to go where possibly if it comes in?
The grant is going to go to put a new 3 new containers at the landfill for recycling for our residents who do not have it currently, who can't participate because they're ineligible to participate curbside. So that's for 2 years. It's for hauling and putting the containers at the landfill.
Great, cool.
So that's an important part. Thank you, Sam.
Good thing for us to have out there.
So the only thing I would add is when this is the first report of this committee, and when it was formed by council, people expressed some concern that with everything else we were doing, was this just going to be too much? And I have to give kudos to Councilor Robertson because she has just been tremendous leader. She's been doing the work, and Rob and Belle have been helping her, but she has really done a great job.
Thank you. And Belle too. I want to send a thing out. Send an acknowledgement out to Belle because Belle has been invaluable for us. Right, Belle?
Thank you.
Great. Moving on to the next item, guidelines for adopting proclamations and resolutions. We've all received the draft of that, which Sophie will go over with us.
So this item came up as we had been the recipients of some requests for proclamations or resolutions. And there was a discussion at the October 26th council workshop. I have attempted to take what I thought I heard from that council workshop and begin the process of drafting some guidelines for you. And I just want to kind of briefly go over them to get some feedback, to make sure that I'm on the right path or to correct my path. But these are guidelines. These are not hard, fast rules, because council, as I tell you often, council can do whatever council wants to do. But per the existing ordinances and charter, you only take formal action through orders, proclamations, and resolutions. That's how you conduct the business of council. Right now, the council chair and staff often speak on behalf of council, but we do that through what we see as stated visions, values, and policies of the town council. So we shouldn't be out there talking about just anything. It should be within the framework of previous council discussion or action. So these resolutions and proclamations are formal actions. They're separate from that. This is when the whole town council is coming together and saying, this is the town speaking, and we mean what we say. Based on the conversation at the workshop, it seemed to me that we wanted these proclamations and resolutions to be positive, and we wanted them to articulate the town's position on important issues, not just on anything. There seemed to be some consensus that we wanted to make sure we didn't dilute council's voice. It also, in the guidelines, reminds people that council is a nonpartisan body, that it will avoid making proclamations or resolutions that are political in nature, that are controversial, or that would likely not enjoy a high level of community interest and support.
So
Yep.
I do have a question. Do you want to take questions as you go along?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
I wonder about controversial. I certainly like the non-political, and I like the fact that they would not take positions that wouldn't be supported by the majority of our citizens, but they still might be controversial.
Okay.
I agree. I had the same question / concern on that, because there are a lot of things that we need to take a stand on that sometimes might rub some people the wrong way.
So the idea being that they might be controversial, but they would also likely enjoy a high degree of support
In the community.
in the
Yes,
community. Okay,
exactly.
that makes sense. Okay. Ready for me to continue, or that makes
Nope,
sense?
yes,
I
am.
The other thing I tried to do in this the first paragraph was to talk about the fact that there are lots of issues that would be of interest to the community, but that town council would want to use its voice to speak formally on those issues that are directly related to the operations and lives of Orono residents. So
Mhm.
it's got to have one of those two tie-ins. It's either about something that the town government needs, or that is really important and directly impact our residents. So yep.
So should that say directly to the town's operations
Sure.
or lives of Orono residents?
Yep. We good to continue?
Mhm.
Does that kind of sum up? That was supposed to be your overarching kind of policy or intent. Do you think I captured that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So a couple of the things that I've seen in other communities, and also that we talked about, were kind of giving some guidelines or requirements. So the first was that somebody has to be an Orono resident. So whether it's somebody from the outside that gets a town councilor to agree, and so a town councilor supports it, or it's a general resident that brings it, somebody from the community has to think this is important enough to bring it to the town council.
Can the council, it says the person making the request, but can the council make a request for
Yeah.
a proclamation? Does it have to be somebody coming?
Counselors are people,
from,
last I checked.
they are?
Please,
Oh, my
Cheryl,
goodness. Okay.
come on.
So my question for that was must be an Orono resident. I was wondering about that too, because sometimes like we had people come from the state, it was a state, we're trying to get the municipality to make, but it would be me. I would have been the one that would have brought that
And
resolution to committee. Okay.
yep. So the idea being so like, for example, Cindy sent me one today that was from a national organization pushing school choice and wanting you to sign on to a proclamation supporting school choice. So we can have a discussion all day long of whether or not council should be involved in supporting or not supporting school choice. But I would think that it would have to be important enough for the community to have somebody, either a counselor, get that and say, oh yeah, I think this is important and we should put it through the process, or a resident see
I
it.
think that's a perfect solution to the whole thing. And if it is an outside thing and somebody hears about it, gets contacted and is passionate about it, then great. They're now the driving local force on this, and it's up to them if they're going to try. So I think that's fine. And exactly, it could be one of us too. People.
So what we would say is the use of council's voice is reserved for only important matters. And therefore, the proposed proclamations and resolutions would only be adopted after ample discussion. So there's nothing that you're going to use your voice to proclaim on that can just kind of get pushed through the process, except two exceptions. It is an annual event that the town council has previously supported. So right off the bat, we've previously supported, every year we do a proclamation around Constitution Week. Every year we do a proclamation for Tree City status. Every year we do a proclamation. There are three, and I don't remember the third one off the top of my head.
That was the first.
Constitution Week, Tree City status,
Arbor Day.
Arbor Day. I think that's the Arbor Day one, the Tree City. I know that the tree board needs it when it reports back to Tree City USA to maintain our certification. But Arbor Day might be a separate one too. But my thought is that these groups that give us the proclamation every year they need it for something, and we've been doing it. So I wouldn't want to now put it through a big long vetting process. I think there are three of them.
Yep.
And the other piece was sometimes there are proclamations or resolutions that come along that are perfunctory and they're really about town operations. An example would be when in order to be part of the workers' comp leadership pool, which had a whole bunch of benefits for the town, council had to sign on to a resolution supporting workers' comp efforts. And that to me doesn't need a ton of community support, and it's more about keeping the operations going. When we just did the bond process, there was not a whole bunch of discussion about the resolution for the bond. However, that is the format that the final order took, was a resolution to meet the legal standard. So those are the types of things that are very kind of perfunctory and part of operations that I don't know we'd want to put through this process. I think they already have a process for being vetted. Is that okay? I see heads nodding. Okay. Of course, everybody who sees this needs to understand that ultimately when the town council speaks, it decides what it's going to say. So whatever people give us for drafts, once they give it to us, you're going to adopt something that might not be what they gave to you, and they kind of lose control over it in the process. And ultimately, the town council retains the sole discretion on whether a proclamation or resolution will be issued. You should never feel like you must issue a proclamation or resolution. So that makes sense. So then for the procedure, we wanted these requests to come in writing. And I would compare kind of two different requests we got. And it would be the healthcare one. We got one that was very high level. I want you to support universal health coverage. And then we got one that gave us kind of some more meat behind it, which then allowed you guys to have a discussion and get us to a place where we supported equitable healthcare. But I think those requests need to come in writing. They need to have good contact information for an individual. I don't think we need to go chasing people down. They should have a draft proclamation or resolution language. And they should include a statement that describes the event or issue that is the subject of the proclamation, explain how this directly impacts the town of Orono, provide a direct connection to our municipal vision, values, policies, or operations. So essentially what puts this into the purview of the Orono Town Council. And also, I think they should have to sketch out any potential opposition to the resolution. That gives you kind of an opportunity to see both sides, if there is a second side. Once we get the request,
I just wanted to add that I agree with that potential opposition, because I think what I would like to get away from is staff doing 10 hours worth of research to determine the other side of a resolution. It shouldn't be all of a sudden we get 4 resolutions and then town staff's got to drop everything to do that opposition research, I guess. So somehow, hopefully the people that are providing the resolution would provide the opposition, but if not, maybe it slows up a resolution or something. I don't know. I don't know how to take it off staff's plate.
I understand and agree with trying to, but it's like, do they know necessarily? You know what I mean? Some people, it's like, thinking, for example, Pride Month. We passed, recognizing June is LGBTQ Pride Month, and it's like if someone were to put that forward, and then how would they? Well, there are some people that don't want to recognize this, or what, you know what I mean? It's like, just a basic statement of that, or like these are the 2 or 3 talking points, and without having to go into great detail about all these, whatever, any particular, forces that are,
I think most people who are really out there pushing for something that they believe in know